Myles Awakens, Episode 3, Part 1. The Question. Myles sits alone in the quiet kitchen, hunched over a bowl of honey bunches of oats. Dark circles hugged his eyes, making him look older than 10. Paul and Tamara were getting ready for the day. Tamara walks into the kitchen, noticing how quiet Myles is. "Sweetie, are you all right? You look sleepy," she says, leaning down. Myles stirs his milk. "Just thinking, Mom." Tamara kisses the top of his head. "Okay, but snap out of it, Havencrest Elementary awaits." She leaves quickly. The small kid Bible Johnny gave him yesterday sits beside his bowl. The house was silent again, save for the hum of the refrigerator. Myles pushed his bowl into the sink and picked up the small black Bible. He slowly flipped through the thin pages, the paper feeling crisp under his thumb. He squinted at the text. Why would Pastor Chop be so mad at Hebrew Israelites? Myles whispered the names he had heard Pastor Chop yell during his sermon yesterday. He closed the Bible, still confused. Retreating to his room, Myles sat cross-legged next to the window, hugging his knees tightly. Outside, kids from the next block were playing hopscotch and yelling. Myles watched them, feeling far away. "Man, I wish Hutch or Marcus were still here," he muttered to himself, thinking of his friends who had moved out of Havencrest. He glanced down at the Bible, resting on his lap. It was heavy, even though it was small. The question from the morning was nagging him. He pulled out his small, slightly scuffed tablet from under his pillow. Hesitantly, Myles typed 2 words into the search bar: Hebrew Israelites. The screen filled instantly with images. Men in colorful flowing garments on street corners, yelling into microphones, and headlines calling the group controversial and separatist. Myles's eyes widened in surprise. Whoa! Myles tapped a thumbnail video of 3 men arguing on a busy sidewalk. The volume instantly blared through the cheap speakers. Repent! The kingdom is at hand. Myles flinched, pulling the tablet back from his ear. They sound angry, he thought, frowning at the intensity. But as he listened past the loudness, he noticed they were quoting verses straight from the Bible. The words, even screamed, sounded strong, real. He quickly lowered the volume until it was barely audible. He remembered Johnny Capone's voice from their last chat, calm and steady. "When you don't understand something, Myles, read the Bible for yourself." Myles put the tablet down, staring into the distance. He compared the shouting men on the screen to Pastor Chop's equally loud yelling on Sunday. He whispered, "But what if both sides are wrong?" He nervously closed the video application. Needing an anchor, Myles picked up the physical Bible again. He opened it to a chapter at random and read the words slowly, trying to focus only on the text. As he read about ancient kings and prophecies, a subtle warmth spread through the room. Then a low, soft hum began to build, a silent vibration in the air of his bedroom. Myles looked up quickly, scanning the ceiling. The room was perfectly normal, perfectly silent again. "Why does this keep happening?" he whispered, a little afraid. Knock, knock. Myles jumped and quickly shoved the tablet under a book. His dad, Paul, stood in the doorway, putting on his silver watch, a jacket draped over his shoulder. "Hey, slugger, you all right? You've been quiet this morning." Paul looked relaxed, but observant. "Yeah, Dad, just reading," Myles replied, gesturing vaguely toward the Bible. Paul smiled slightly, entering the room and sitting heavily on the edge of Myles' bed. Paul spotted the Bible. "That's Johnny's, right? He seems like a good guy, someone you can talk to." Myles hesitated, then blurted out, "Dad, why is Pastor Chop so mad at the other people who read this? The Hebrew Israelites?" Paul paused, considering. He rested a hand on Myles' shoulder. "Look, Myles, grown folks argue about things they don't even understand themselves. Religion, politics, they make people defensive. You are allowed to take your time figuring things out, son." Myles looked up, surprised by his dad's lack of a definitive answer. Paul clapped him softly on the back. "Don't stress out about grown folks' problems, okay? I gotta head to work." Paul stood and headed out. Myles was left alone, holding the heavy Bible closer to his chest now. As he looked at the cover, a faint, inexplicable breeze stirred the hair on his forehead. Even though the window was firmly closed, Myles' eyes widened slightly, his breath catching. He whispered, "What's happening to me?" The question lingered in the quiet air of Havencrest, Indiana. Myles Awakens, Episode 3, Part 2, The Assignment. Myles stood in front of his mirror, brushing his hair nervously. He wore a clean shirt and jeans, but his face looked worried. His mom peeked into the room with a gentle smile. "You look nice, baby. You ready to go?" Myles didn't answer right away. He stared at his reflection, thoughtful, uncertain. "Yeah, I think so." His dad's voice called from downstairs. "Come on, kiddo. We don't want to be late again." Myles grabbed the small Bible Johnny had given him and followed them out. The family drove down quiet Sunday streets. Myles sat in the back seat, flipping through the Bible nervously. He whispered to himself, "What do I even say if Johnny asks me something?" He glanced up at his parents. They were talking casually about groceries and bills, normal adult stuff. But to Myles, everything felt strange today. His mom turned slightly in her seat. "You sure you're okay?" Myles nodded quickly. "Yeah," but his grip on the Bible tightened. The lobby was even busier this week. Kids ran toward their youth rooms, parents greeted each other warmly, and screens displayed sermon notes in bold letters. Myles walked between his mom and dad, gripping his Bible tightly. Then he saw Johnny across the lobby, talking to another parent. Johnny's eyes met his, and he smiled warmly. Myles' shoulders eased just a little. Johnny walked over with that same calm energy. "Hey, Myles, glad you came back." Myles looked up, shy but happy. "Yeah, I read a little like you said." Johnny nodded, impressed. "Good. I want to hear about it later. Just one thing you noticed." "Anything." Myles nodded, feeling a small sense of accomplishment. Myles' mom walked up with a smile. "Thank you for being so kind last week." Johnny nodded modestly. "Myles is a good kid. He listens. Most kids pretend not to." Paul walked up and shook Johnny's hand. "We appreciate you looking out for him." "Anytime," Johnny said with a genuine smile. Myles looked at his dad, surprised to hear him called a good kid so openly. Johnny gestured toward the youth hallway. "You can sit in main service today if you want, or you can roll with us in the youth room." Myles looked at his dad. Paul gave a small nod. "Go ahead. Try it out." Myles swallowed, nervous. "Okay." Johnny patted his shoulder lightly. "Let's go." Myles stepped inside the youth room. More kids were here this week, about 10 or 12. Some sat on couches, some in chairs. A few played on handheld games while waiting. A boy about his age looked over and gave a small nod. Myles nodded back shyly. Johnny stood at the front, holding a small notebook. "All right, everyone. Grab a seat. Let's take 10 seconds and settle down." Myles chose a seat in the second row, right in the middle. Johnny walked slowly in front of the kids, Bible in hand. "Last week, I asked everyone to read just one chapter. Doesn't matter what you picked. What matters is that you tried." The kids looked around at each other, some fidgeting, some attentive. Johnny looked directly at Myles. "Myles, you want to go first? What stood out to you?" Myles froze. Myles' heart beat fast. He opened his Bible to a marked page, his hands trembling slightly. "I read a chapter in Psalms, but I didn't understand everything." Johnny smiled warmly. "That's okay. Understanding comes later. What did you feel when you read it?" Myles hesitated. Images from the dream flashed through his mind. Glowing letters, the silhouette, the voice calling to him. It felt strong, he said quietly. like the words were talking to me. The room went quiet for a moment. Johnny knelt slightly to meet Myles at eye level. That feeling? That means you're actually paying attention. That's a good sign. Myles blushed slightly. Really? Johnny nodded. Yeah, most kids just skim and forget. If something stood out, even just a feeling, that's the beginning of understanding. Myles closed his Bible slowly and held it against his chest. He didn't know why, but he felt like something had started inside him. Something important, something he couldn't turn away from now. The stirring spirit. Youth service wrapped up as Johnny closed his notebook. All right, everybody. Next week, new chapter. One chapter only. Don't overthink it. Kids scattered, laughing and talking. Myles stayed seated, staring at his Bible. Johnny walked over, hands in his pockets. Hey, you survived your first youth class. Myles nodded timidly. Yeah, it was okay. Johnny smiled and walked him toward the lobby. Myles saw his mom and dad waiting near the sanctuary doors. His mom beamed when she spotted him. There's my little man. How was youth church? Myles shrugged. It was fine. His dad ruffled his hair. You hungry? We can grab something after this. Myles nodded but stayed quiet, still turning the morning over in his mind. Pastor Chop walked through the lobby, greeting people with firm handshakes and sharp eye contact. His presence felt heavy, like he filled the room just by being in it. He passed near Myles, and for a moment their eyes met. A faint hum filled Myles' ears, the same as during the sermon. The lights overhead flickered just once. Myles stiffened. Why does that keep happening? Pastor Chop continued walking, not noticing anything unusual. As they walked toward the exit, Myles suddenly felt dizzy, not enough to fall, but enough to make him grab his dad's arm. Hey, you all right? His dad asked. Myles nodded quickly. Yeah, I think so. But his eyes drifted toward the sanctuary doors, like something inside was calling to him. The sanctuary door stood partly open. Soft music played inside, but Myles heard something else. A faint whisper, not words, but a pull. He took one small step toward the door without realizing it. His mom touched his shoulder gently. Baby, come on. We're heading out. Myles blinked and snapped out of it. Okay, but he looked back at the sanctuary door one last time before following them. The family stepped outside into bright sunlight. People gathered in groups, laughing and making plans for brunch. Myles stood still for a moment, letting the sun warm his face. The breeze felt heavier than normal, softer, almost alive. He whispered, "Why does everything feel different?" His mom didn't hear him. As they approached the car, a group of teens from the youth room ran past, joking around. One boy called out, "See you next week, Johnny." Johnny waved them off, then noticed Myles still looking uncertain. "You did good today, kid." Myles nodded, but looked down. "Thanks." Johnny tilted his head, studying him. "You look like you got something on your mind." Johnny knelt slightly so he wasn't towering over Myles. "Thinking is good, but you don't gotta carry everything alone. If something scares you or confuses you, you can talk to me." Myles looked up at him. "Even if it's weird stuff?" Johnny chuckled softly. "Especially if it's weird stuff." Myles held his Bible a little tighter. As they reached the car, a light post near the parking lot flickered, once, then twice. No one else reacted. Myles froze, staring at it. A faint whisper echoed inside him, the same tone from the dream. "Wake up!" Myles's eyes widened. His dad opened the car door. "Come on, kiddo, let's go." Myles got in slowly, still looking at the flickering light. Myles sat in the back seat, the Bible resting in his lap. He watched the church building fade away through the window. The whisper still hummed faintly in his mind. His mom adjusted her mirror and looked at him. "You sure you're okay?" Myles nodded. but his eyes stayed distant. Yeah, just tired. But inside, he knew it wasn't just tiredness. Something was stirring inside him. Something he didn't understand yet, but couldn't ignore.